My next guest is back for PFL on June the 8th when he takes on Rob Wilkinson. And of course, it is Ty Flores on the show. Ty, how are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Before we dive into this camp and another big fight for you, I wanted to start with asking you your thoughts. There was a big signing today for PFL. Francis Ngannou is the latest addition to the heavyweight roster. Obviously, what are your thoughts on that? What kind of excitement do you feel like adding him to the roster does for the promotion?
I mean, hey, man, good on them. It seems like they have a lot of stuff in the works. I hear they're buying out Bellator too. They just signed Cedric Doumbé. I mean, big things moving forward. And, I know that they have some events planned in Europe. I mean, they're already doing stuff in Europe, South America, Asia. Now they're going to do Africa. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty exciting. Definitely.
You made your debut with the promotion in April. UD win over Delon Monte. Have you liked how they've treated you? Has everything been good thus far?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit strange with, half of my bracket, testing positive for PEDs and whatnot, but, they've done everything I think that they can. I mean, it is what it is. So, but yeah, I mean, they pay well, they treat us well, and, it's been good so far.
And do you like the regular season format? Do you like how they're doing things versus like the UFC, for example?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I treat it like a fight, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like with every opponent, it's like if you can go out there and finish the guy in the first round, we're all going to try and do that. You know what I mean? So of course, like I want that, but at the same time, it's like it is pretty cool. Like it is cool with the whole tournament style. I wish we could throw elbows. I mean, elbows are just a huge part of my game, both on the ground and standing. So that kind of sucks. Especially even in the championship fight, they don't allow you to throw elbows. I don't understand it, but it is what it is.
You mentioned you like the pay. Obviously, I mean that's a big deal. Let's be honest, right? Like, do you feel like with what they're doing, what they're offering, that and you mentioned potentially buying out Bellator, that this is a promotion that eventually could rival the UFC for the top dog?
Um, Maybe I don't know enough of like on the business side of it to be honest. I know the UFC is. I mean, the UFC is the gold standard. You know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is. Like people still say like, "Oh, you do UFC." They don't really know. Um, I think it's. I can't say whether it will or won't, but if that's the plans, if that's their plan, I mean, they're doing everything. They're doing everything in their power to you know to go down that road. So if that's what they want to do, I mean, they're doing pretty good. They pay well. I mean, they're on ESPN too. I think that's huge. It's like, man, I have teammates that fight for Bellator, and it's like I didn't even realize there was a Bellator fight this past weekend. You know what I mean? It's like their marketing is just awful. Like I don't even, you know what I mean? It's like I want to watch a fight. Like I still don't even know where if it's not on YouTube prelims, how do I watch a fucking Bellator fight? I have no idea. PFL is easy, man. I mean, it seems like they get a couple weeks off, and then their whole roster fights within a few weeks, and then it's on ESPN. It's nice. So, yeah.
And it's been a minute since that I have interviewed you. The first time I did interview you was right before your fight with Dustin Jacoby going into
Yeah.
Dana White's Contender Series. Obviously, that fight didn't go your way, but I mean, you're on a 3 fight win streak right now. Do you feel like everything is clicking for you right now? Like you're the best you've ever been?
Uh, yes. It's like yeah, I do feel like I'm the best I've ever been, but it's still one of those things where it's like I know the things I need to work on. Not a lot of huge things, but just small things. It's one of those things where it's like I'm not going to rest on my laurels at all. You know what I mean? Like I have stuff I want to work on, and things I need to get better at. I think I'm so much better than I was before I fought on Contender Series. And I think that was like a big takeaway. Jacoby was a very experienced veteran, and I was still pretty green, man, and I've come a long way since then.
How happy are you with your debut fight for the PFL again in April? UD win. Assess that performance for me.
I mean, it was good. There was some things I would have done better. I think I honestly, dude, I totally forgot. I mean, me I think me and my coaches knew this, but I totally forgot about the whole no elbows thing. And like I found out, like they sent an email, and it was like 3 days before the fight, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like, all right, like that was going to be a big plan. I think I did well. I mean, that guy had all first round finishes. He was a semifinalist. I came out there, and I mean, I wouldn't even say it was a slow start, but I mean, closer first round. But I still feel like I finished it on top well. And then the rest of the fight went pretty well. You know what I mean? I felt like I was killing him in the stand up, way outlanding him. Definitely beating him on the ground. I mean, he was a black belt in judo and jujitsu for 5 years. I'm still a white belt in jujitsu, so it was good. I think I could have gone for the finish a little bit more, but that's just been something where I've worked so much over the past year. I used to finish most of my fights, and my last three, they've all gone to decision. And that's just something where it's like, I've been being a little bit more cerebral in there, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You know what I mean? So bad thing meaning that like I think there's definitely some times where I could have like really put my foot down on the gas, broke a guy and got the finish. But also it's like I'm doing things, I'm listening well. It's not like I'm just getting my ass beat.
Of course, yeah. Tell me a little bit about camp. Obviously, Elevation Fight Team, one of the best gyms in the country, in the world for that matter. How's it been this far? How's your body feeling?
Dude, it's been great. Body's feeling about as well as it could feel. You know what I mean? I mean, we're just in the thick of camp right now. Man, like everybody is we've all been having a back to back to back, so it's good. I mean, we have like a solid crew of heavyweights and light heavyweights. I have some guys actually coming in this weekend for me. They're going to be here till the fight. Lots of really good bodies, and it's great, man. I mean, it's the ideal training scenario because I have friends that train a little bit everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, MMA community is not that big, and it's like we have high level coaching, right? Like there's a very big disparity. Like I was just out last weekend, whatever the All Joe Suhudo fight was. I was out there with Devin Clark, and I mean, there's like a pretty big difference between our coaches and the lion's share of coaches on the card, right? Like you can definitely tell there's a disparity there, in a good way for our coaches. So we have very high level coaching. But I think somewhere where, I mean, I guess some ways it can hurt us sometimes, but overall, I think it's very good that we have a smaller room where it's, never usually for big guys, it's usually never more than, 8 to 10 of us. But I mean, it's like, dude, like that's a lot of hands on attention from the coaches, very, very specific, I mean, like even today we had sparring and it was, each coach got to, you know, look at all of our rounds, you know what I mean, and give us positive feedback, negative feedback, things that we need to work on. And I think a lot of guys, aren't really getting that. So it's been excellent.
Has there been someone specific in camp that's been able to kind of replicate Rob more than anyone else?
Um, I mean, we have this guy, Phil. He's this Tongan kickboxer, and he kind of fights a little bit like Rob, in terms of striking, I want to say, except for Phil's a little bit more. I mean, Rob kind of blitzes. Um, Phil's a little more explosive, kind of unorthodox, and Rob's pretty patient, pretty intelligent striker. Phil's like also very good. Don't get me wrong, I'm not insulting him, but he is that guy that's like he's willing to like take a shot to eat a to land a shot kind of thing, which is good though. It makes me I have to have my defense on point and whatnot. And then of course we got Vanilla Thunder and Zach Pauga is always just a great dogfight round. Him and I swear once around we get into like that old Don Fry, grab each other's necks and just beat the shit out of each other. So that's some good partners for sure.
You mentioned Vanilla Thunder. I got to ask you about my guy Ben. How good can he be? Where do you think we're going to see him a year or two from now?
I don't know. So he's actually my roommate. And I don't know. It depends. I mean, I would hope he'd probably get on Contender next or find somebody to fight him. I was hoping he'd fight that Jordan Heiderman kid, but I just saw he got signed with PFL. So I think maybe one more fight. We'll see him on the big show. And, you know, maybe that next fight's Contender Series. We'll see. So.
Yeah, excited to see what is next for him. June
For
8th,
sure.
it's still a little ways out. What's the weight at right now? How big are you getting, before camp really starts these days?
Right now, probably 228, 229. It's fluctuating a little bit. Right now is around the time of the dike. It's a lot more strict. Um, I try and now meal prepping, putting everything in just to make it easier in containers as opposed to, my issue now is like I'll eat healthy, but I'll eat like a lot at like the end of the day. You know what I mean? Where I don't eat a ton throughout the day, so my metabolism doesn't fire up. But I mean, weight's good. It's not going to be an issue. So,
And obviously, this event's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. Who will be making the trip with you? Who will be in your corner come fight night?
Vinny Lopez and Cody Donovan for sure. I think Razak Al Hassan's going to be there as well. I know he has a bit of an injury, so he hasn't been training. But yeah, I'll still probably take him anyway. He's supposed to. I thought he was going to be coming back today, but he has a pretty high fight IQ. Probably I think better than anybody on the team. Like he just sees some stuff very, very well. I think if he ever wanted to get into coaching, that'd be great for him. He sees things that I think a lot of people don't. Both about myself and opponents I have, and he's also cornered me in the past 3 fights, and we've won all of those, so it's a pretty strong corner.
Yeah, great group of guys around you as always. Let's talk about your opponent, Rob Wilkinson. He's 5-0 in the PFL. He's coming off a big win over Thiago Santos. Actually, his last loss all the way back in 2018 against Israel Adesanya. What do you think of this matchup? How do you like it for yourself?
I mean, it's good. I mean, to be honest, it's one of those things where I was planning on fighting a guy like Rob Wilkinson or Thiago in my debut. You know what I mean? I think when you get to the big show, and I talk to guys like Zach, and they like complain. A lot of guys like turn down fights. Like you wouldn't think that, right? Like you would think that us being professional fighters alone, not to mention like fighting for big organizations, like guys would have a little bit more of that dog in them. But a lot of guys say no. So with the PFL format, I mean, it is kind of nice where it's like you kind of know who you're going to fight, right? I mean, you're only going to have you have a very finite amount of guys. So when I first got the word of it, it was before my last fight that I got in the PFL. I'm already looking at the roster, like, planning on fighting a guy like that. So mentally, I've already kind of been prepping for that guy. And he's good, man. Like you've seen improvements every single fight. Um, he's not perfect. Nobody is. I'm definitely not. But I think he's a strong opponent. I think he's really good, and I think that he's gonna bring me. I'm gonna fight up to a different level. You know what I mean? Because I'm treating this like it's a championship fight because I think Rob is the most dangerous guy in the division. I think he's definitely the most well-rounded. You know what I mean? Like there's some specialists there, um, but they're severely lacking in other areas. But I think Rob, like he does a pretty good job of pretty good job everywhere. I wouldn't say he's weak anywhere, but um, he's not a guy that I'm taking lightly at all.
Is there one area of his game that you feel like you're just going to be able to get the better of him at without giving away your game plan? Obviously, do
Yeah.
you just feel like, if you're standing up or down on the mat, that there's one area you're going to be able to really shine and get the better of him?
Um, Maybe in the transitions, you know what I mean? Like not maybe one specific area, but in the transitions in between, which is what I think makes MMA MMA. And he also, I mean, man, he opens up pretty hard, which is kind of intimidating in terms of he's not like a guy like I just fought Monte, right? And Monte comes out really hard, and if he doesn't knock you out in the first 2 minutes, I mean, it's like falls off a cliff. And something that I think Rob does pretty intelligently is that he, even when he smells blood, like he doesn't just rush in. You know what I mean? And I think part of that is because I've noticed in his fights that when the second round comes around, he starts to his volume really, really goes down. I don't know that I would say it's like issues with cardio because I think he manages it pretty well now. I think I'm a guy where the longer the fight goes, the stronger I get, kind of thing. Um, So I think that's going to be interesting. You know what I mean? Like, is he going to be ready for that type of fight? You know, in the second and the third round, if it doesn't get finished in the first, either way. Um, so I'm going to be intrigued to see that. You know what I mean? And I always seem to have some kind of dogfight, so I would plan on that.
What is your official prediction? Do you think you get another decision win, or are you expecting to go in there and put him away?
I don't want a decision, man, but I want to win. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like I don't want to fight to a decision. It's like it really annoys me. Like the past 3 fights I've had, I've won decision because I beat good guys, but I just yeah. I mean, because the more frustrating things like in all of those fights, there were definitely moments where I could have finished, and it just didn't happen. So it is definitely something I'm hunting for, but I'm also not going to be an idiot. Like Rob's an experienced veteran. His last loss was against Izzy, and I thought he won that first round. I think a lot of people did. Then he kind of wilted in the as the second round went on, but I thought he had a pretty good first round. So I'm not going to be stupid there. I'm going for the win. I'm going to do whatever it takes, and if I get finished going for that, then that's what happens. If he gets finished, that's what happens. But I'll also, if I win the decision, I win the decision. You know what I mean? A lot of people were saying that he didn't look good in his last fight against Tiago, and it's like, dude, he fought fucking Tiago Santos. You know what I mean? Like, what would you do if you were going to fight Tiago? You know what I mean? It's one of those like, I thought that showed that he had a lot of knockouts last season, and it showed that he could wrestle and he could grapple. Um, so I think the fight's going to be one of the transitions though, and we'll see.
Yeah. No, fair point. If I saw Thiago Santos across the cage, I'd turn into Usain Bolt and just, start running as
Yeah,
fast as I possibly could.
yeah. It's like the guy's had a skid lately, but it's like, man, you can't sleep on that power. That's a guy that there's a few guys like that. I mean, he's somebody that like, dude, he can turn your lights off at any moment. You know what I mean? So like, you have to respect that.
For sure. Excited to see you back in there, man. Give me your prediction on the main event. Brendan Loughnane, Jesus Pineda. Who do you see winning that one?
I don't know anything about Jesus, but Brendan seems pretty good, so I'll probably have to go with him.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. That seems to be a safe bet. A lot of people, I would imagine, are leaning that way. Ty, great talking to you again, man. Hopefully the next time we speak, it isn't so long in between. But again, excited to see you back in there, man. June 8th, again for PFL, Ty Flores, Rob Wilkinson, light heavyweight bout. Before we do sign off, man, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where they can follow you on social media. If you have anyone to thank, anything to plug, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. Ty Flores 205. Thanks to Jason House with Iridium Sports for giving me the opportunity, and of course, my team. They know I love them. They know who they are. Um, and let's go get this W on June 8th.